You are about to hear a sleep story from Baelira Night. Baelira Night creates calm, original stories for adults, designed to help you relax, slow down, and drift gently into sleep. Listen at low volume, get comfortable, and allow the story to fade naturally as you rest. There is nothing you need to do. You can simply listen. Tonight, we begin far back in time. Before cities, before names, before history was written down. We begin with people who did not yet know they were making history. Imagine the world as it once was, wide, quiet, untamed. The land stretches freely in every direction. Forests breathe. Rivers move slowly. The sky feels larger than it does now. Small groups of humans walk across the land. They do not hurry. They follow the rhythm of daylight, of seasons, of hunger and rest. They do not think of themselves as separate from the world. They are part of it, moving with it, listening to it. Their lives are simple, not easy, but clear. They wake with the sun. They rest when the light fades. They gather food. They share warmth. They stay close. Fire becomes a quiet center of their nights, a soft glow against the dark, a place to sit, a place to feel safe. Around the fire, stories are not told with words yet. They are told with gestures, with sounds, with shared silence. This is where language begins. Slowly, gently, one sound at a time. A signal, a warning, a name. Not written, not fixed, just carried from mouth to ear, from parent to child. Time moves differently here. Years pass without being counted. Generations come and go without knowing they are generations. Humans walk. They follow animals. They follow water. They follow warmth. They cross valleys. They climb hills. They move because movement is life. Their footprints fade, but their presence remains. Tools are shaped by hand, stone against stone, patient work, careful repetition. Hands learn, hands remember. With each small improvement, life becomes a little more secure, a little more predictable. And slowly, very slowly, humans begin to stay. They pause near rivers. They return to the same places. They recognize land as familiar. This is where belonging begins. Seeds are noticed, planted, waited for. The earth responds. Food grows. Time gains shape. Seasons become meaningful. People begin to build. Shelter. Walls. Places meant to last longer than a night. Families grow. Communities form. Voices gather. Stories become longer now. They stretch beyond a single life. Memory becomes something to protect. As you listen, you do not need to remember every detail. You do not need to follow time closely. This is not a lesson. It is a journey, a slow walk through who we are and where we come from. You can rest as the story continues, moving gently forward through time. The seasons turn, quietly, again and again. And as the seasons turn, humans begin to notice patterns. Where the water returns, where certain plants grow, where animals pass through at the same time each year. Slowly, life becomes less like wandering and more like returning. People begin to stay near rivers, near fertile soil, near places that offer food and shelter and familiarity. They build simple homes. They repair them. They improve them. A place becomes a village. A village becomes a shared rhythm. In these villages, time begins to feel different. Not because the sun changes, but because human life changes. There is planting and waiting. There is harvesting and storing. Food lasts longer now. Survival becomes slightly less uncertain. And when survival becomes slightly less urgent, the mind begins to open. Hands learn new skills. Clay becomes vessels. Fibers become thread. Thread becomes cloth. People shape the world around them, not quickly, but patiently. with repetition. The fire is still there, still at the center of the night. But now there are more voices around it, more faces, more stories. Storytelling becomes a kind of memory, a way to carry what happened beyond the moment. And so the human world expands, not only across land, but across generations. Trade begins quietly. A stone from one region appears in another. A shell from the coast is worn far inland. People exchange goods, but also ideas. A better way to sharpen a blade. A better way to weave. A better way to store grain. And as people gather in larger numbers, new needs appear. Rules, customs, agreements. Not written yet, but understood. A shared understanding of what belongs to whom, of what is promised, of what is expected. Over time, villages grow, some become towns, walls appear, not only to keep animals out, but to mark the shape of a community. Near rivers in places like the Fertile Crescent, agriculture takes root long ago, thousands of years before modern calendars, and people begin to depend on the soil. Life becomes more stable, and also more complicated. There is abundance, and there is scarcity, there is cooperation, and sometimes conflict. Humans learn, slowly, that living together requires patience. It requires listening. It requires learning how to repair what breaks. And still, the story continues. As towns grow into early cities, something new appears. A need to remember more than a mind can hold. How much grain is stored? Who owes what? Which goods arrived? Which goods left? And so marks begin to appear. Simple records at first, symbols pressed into clay, numbers, counts, lists, not yet poetry, not yet letters, just the quiet beginning of writing. In ancient Mesopotamia, long ago, before 3200 BCE, the first true writing systems emerge, born from the simple need to keep track. A reed stylus, a clay tablet, a few careful marks, and suddenly, memory changes. Because a thought can now remain after the speaker is gone, a promise can remain, a plan can remain, a name can remain. History begins to leave traces. Cities continue to rise. Places like Uruk become powerful centers filled with people, trade, and work, with streets, temples, and long routines. And in these early cities, humans become even more human. They build, they argue, they celebrate, they mourn. They look up at the sky and wonder what it means. They create stories about gods and forces, about order and chaos, about life, death, and hope. And through it all, the quiet truth remains. Humans are creatures of connection. They gather, they share, they remember. And you can rest as the story continues, moving gently forward through time, one slow step at a time. Time continues its slow movement, carrying people forward without asking them to notice. Cities grow, and with them, the complexity of human life. Stone replaces mud in many places. Wood is shaped into beams. Paths become roads. People rise with purpose each morning. They farm, they craft, they trade, they build. Roles begin to form. Some people specialize. Some make tools. Some keep records. Some lead rituals. Leadership emerges quietly at first. A trusted voice, an experienced hand, a figure people turn to in times of uncertainty. And with leadership comes organization. Laws begin to appear, not only spoken, but written, set in stone or clay or carved into wood. Rules meant to bring order, to settle disputes, to protect what matters. In places like ancient Egypt, life aligns itself with the river. The Nile floods, the land renews, crops grow in rhythm with the water. People learn to measure time, to mark seasons, to look at the stars for guidance. Monuments rise slowly, not rushed, built by many hands over many years. They are not only symbols of power, but of belief. Belief in continuity, belief in something larger than one life. Further east and west, other civilizations take shape. In the Indus Valley, cities are carefully planned, with straight streets and systems for water and waste. In ancient China, dynasties rise and fall, each leaving behind ideas, rituals, and written characters that will endure. Across the sea, in the lands around the Mediterranean, new ways of thinking begin to emerge. People gather to discuss, to question, to reason. In ancient Greece, stories about gods slowly share space with questions about nature, ethics, and the human mind. Philosophy begins, not as answers, but as curiosity. What is a good life? What is justice? What is truth? These questions do not demand urgency. They unfold slowly through conversation and reflection. Empires form, some through trade, some through conquest. They connect distant regions. They move ideas, languages, and customs across vast distances. Roads stretch farther than ever before. Ships cross open water. Messages travel faster. And yet, the human experience remains familiar. People love. They fear. They hope. They worry about the future. Families gather in the evening. Meals are shared. Stories are told. Religions take shape, offering meaning, comfort, and structure. Some focus on many gods, some on one, some on inner balance and the quiet discipline of the mind. Buddhism speaks of suffering and the path to release. Judaism carries memory and law. Christianity spreads a message of compassion. Islam will later bring guidance, community, and devotion. These traditions grow slowly, carried by people, not by force alone, but by shared belief. Throughout it all, time keeps moving. Empires rise, empires fall. Cities are built, abandoned, and built again. And still, children are born. They learn language. They learn to walk. They learn to belong. The human story does not move in straight lines. It circles. It returns. It repeats lessons in new forms. You do not need to remember names or dates. You do not need to follow borders or rulers. This is not a map. It is a feeling, a quiet sense of continuity. And as the story moves forward, you can continue to rest, letting the past pass gently by, as time carries us toward the present. Time moves on, and the world slowly shifts again. The rhythm of life changes, not all at once, but in quiet steps. Knowledge spreads, skills travel. Ideas cross borders carried by voices, by books, by shared work. In many places, learning becomes something to preserve. Libraries are built, texts are copied by hand, line after careful line. People study the stars, the body, the movement of water and wind. They observe, they record, they compare. Understanding grows slowly, layer upon layer, like stone placed carefully upon stone. Trade expands. Roots stretch across deserts and seas. Spices move. Silk moves. Metals move. Along with goods, stories travel. Beliefs travel. Ways of living travel. Cultures meet, sometimes gently, sometimes with tension. But they meet, and when cultures meet, they change one another. New tools appear. Better plows, stronger ships, more precise instruments. Work becomes more efficient. Life becomes more connected. Time is measured more carefully now. Clocks appear. Calendars become more exact. Moments are named. The idea of progress begins to take shape, slowly and unevenly. In Europe, the Renaissance brings renewed attention to art, to science, to the potential of the human mind. Paintings capture light and shadow. Architecture reaches upward. Music fills halls and open spaces. People look at the world with fresh curiosity. Later, the scientific revolution follows, quietly but decisively. Observation matters. Evidence matters. Questions are welcomed. The universe feels larger. The Earth is understood differently. Humanity sees itself as part of a vast system. Then, machines begin to appear. At first, they assist. They spin, they pump, they lift. Gradually, they transform. The Industrial Revolution reshapes daily life. Work moves from fields to factories. Cities expand rapidly. Smoke fills the air. Life becomes faster, louder, more crowded. Time speeds up. Yet even here, the human experience remains familiar. People seek comfort. They form friendships. They build families. They search for meaning. New ideas about rights and freedom emerge. Voices call for fairness, for dignity, for opportunity. Some are heard. Some are resisted. But the conversation continues. The modern world takes shape. Electric light replaces flame. Communication accelerates. Voices travel across wires, then through the air. Information becomes immediate. Distance shrinks. Wars shake the world. They leave deep marks. They force reflection. From these moments, international cooperation begins to form, slowly and imperfectly. And then, the digital age arrives. Screens glow. Data flows. Knowledge becomes accessible in ways never imagined before. Humanity becomes more connected than ever before, and sometimes more distant at the same time. Through all these changes, one thing remains. People still wake each day. They still hope. They still care for one another. They still tell stories. The tools change. The pace changes. But the heart of the human story stays recognizable. As time carries us closer to now, you can continue to rest, letting centuries pass gently, without needing to hold on to them. The journey is nearing the present, and it moves quietly, as all things do. And now, the story arrives gently in the time you know. The world feels smaller than it once did. Distances shorten. Moments overlap. People wake to quiet rooms, to busy streets, to screens that glow softly in the dark. Life moves quickly now, often faster than the body prefers. Days fill with information. Nights fill with light. And yet, the human rhythm remains. People still breathe. They still rest. They still search for calm. Even in this modern world, ancient patterns continue. We gather in small groups. We share meals. We tell stories at the end of the day, sometimes without words. We look for meaning. We look for connection. We look for a sense of belonging. The same needs that guided early humans still exist within us now. Safety, warmth, understanding. Technology surrounds us, but it does not replace these needs. It only changes how we meet them. We build cities taller than ever before. We send messages across the planet in moments. We explore space. We study the smallest particles of matter. We seek answers at every scale. And still, each person carries a quiet inner world. Memories, hopes, questions. The human story is no longer something that only belongs to the past. It is happening now, in every breath, in every choice, in every moment of rest. You are part of this story, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that asks anything of you, simply by being here. The same hands that once shaped stone tools now hold phones, books, and cups of warm tea. The same voices that once shared stories by fire now share them across distance, through sound, through light. And at the end of the day, the need is the same: to slow down, to feel safe, to rest. History does not rush you. It does not demand attention. It does not need to be remembered all at once. It flows gently behind you, supporting the present, holding the future. As this quiet journey comes to rest, you can allow yourself to do the same. The past has carried us here. The present holds you now. And the night, like history itself, continues calmly, without urgency, without end. You can rest now, knowing you belong to a long, quiet human story.